Hey there, this is Jamie.Pelaez and it's day number 20 of my 90-day vlog challenge. I was in the process of writing a blog post when I realized, whoa, don't hit the send button. This needs to be a video. So today I'm going to talk a little bit more about my story and about how this post came about / video. So I was evaluating some of the amazing women that are on my Facebook wall, and how those connections introduced me to even more amazing women. Some of these women are older than me, some of them are younger, some of them are probably the same age. And the reason these women are so amazing to me, and I'm sure they have their own struggles and their own battles, but for the most part, they seem to live fearlessly. They seem to be authentically themselves and not ashamed to be that, not afraid to be that. When I look at these women, I realize that they're who I should have been, who I am deep down inside, who I have stifled myself from being. And that's a little hard, so I started thinking about that. Some of the women that are younger than me, it made me realize, not that I threw my 20s away, but I did not utilize them in the way that I should have, as effectively as I could have. See, I became an abused wife at the age of 23, and I really have no one to blame but myself. Obviously, the other person in the party, they're the ones that decided to dish out the drama and the bad things, but I'm the one that signed up for it. Now, I didn't know this person was bipolar and had PTSD and all these other crazy things, but God gave me plenty of warning signs beforehand that this was not a good way to go. However, unfortunately for me at that time, I was extremely broken, mentally beaten down. My heart was beyond broken. The only other time that I could think of that even remotely compares and my heart was broken even more was when I lost my son, Aiden, who was born full-term stillborn, which was after this. But at that time, that was the most heartbroken situation and pain that I had ever felt. And it really put me in a bad place mentally because at the time I wasn't spiritually strong. I was running for myself. There was a lot of things going on at that time. And it was one of those years, this was back in 2004, where it felt like everything that could go wrong it was like I was self-sabotaging myself left and right. A lot of people are like, well, don't you blame God for this or da-da-da? No. Why? Because he did his best to warn me over and over again. There was warning signs, there was feelings, there was that intuition left and right. And I wasn't listening because I didn't know that voice was from God. And at the time I didn't trust myself anymore. So therefore I thought that voice was from me and I just ignored it. And I had no reason not to trust that voice. That voice had never been wrong. Never. It was 100% accurate. And yet I still doubted it. That's how far gone I was and how bad of a place I was on a mental level. So even as I was at the courthouse, getting ready to be asked to say my vows, I knew I shouldn't be standing there. I wanted to run. I wanted to say, I can't do this, and walk out the door. But here I was in a state that I, just moved to, with people I barely know, no family around, no nothing, barely. I don't even know if I had any money. I might have had like maybe $100 in my bank, if that. I wasn't working, and I was thinking, well, if I leave, how am I gonna get back to my car? Is he gonna freak out? Is he gonna go crazy? Is something gonna happen to me? How can I just do that? So I said my vows, but I didn't really mean them. It wasn't in my heart, and I knew I shouldn't be saying them. And a couple weeks later, I was like I woke up out of a coma. I literally woke up one morning thinking that it had been a dream. And I remember glancing over at my finger, my ring finger, and seeing the wedding ring and going, no, it was not a dream. That was very much real. And I realized in that instant what I had done to myself. And I felt like a caged animal. I mean, I can only imagine what a caged animal feels like, but I felt like the walls were just closing in on me. I felt like hyperventilating. I felt like my oxygen was being stolen from me because I realized what I had done to myself. And what's sad is I had no idea what I really had done to myself quite yet, because I still hadn't realized that my husband was already cheating on me, that he was a sex addict, that he was bipolar, and he had PTSD. It wouldn't be until shortly after that realization that I screwed up really bad that I would find out that I really, really screwed up, even worse than I had originally thought. So I tried to end things, and told him that I made a mistake, and that's when he snapped, and I had to find out who I really married. And it was downhill from there. I tried leaving numerous times, and I would stay gone, but he'd always guilt me back, because at my heart of heart, I am a person that doesn't like to hurt people. And even though I didn't mean what I was saying when I got married, and I didn't want to be saying what I said, I still said those words. So after that point, I did the best I could to try to abide by the commitment that came out of my mouth. And obviously it didn't end well. I spent years trying to, the majority of my 20s, trying to make amends with that situation, trying to make it right, trying to be a good wife, becoming more spiritual, becoming healthier, getting my mindset in the right spot. However, the person that I was yoked with didn't want those things. I was even at the very moment of my hot messness, okay? I don't know if that's a word, but at my worst moment of time of hot messness, even then I was unequally yoked with that person, let alone once I started getting my mind back and spiritually getting my life together. The division just got bigger. And it was like taking one step forward and 2 steps back all the time, because I wasn't with someone that wanted to see me grow, not with someone that wanted to see me become better, because I think that he realized what that meant for him. It was like he, it wasn't that this person, like, he wasn't deceived when he married me. He knew I was in love with someone else, my heart was broken, and all these things. He took that as a prime time to sweep me up. He knew that that was the only way that he could get me. It wasn't about whether it was right or wrong. It was just about what he wanted and how he knew he had to achieve it and take advantage of that situation. So it's not like he was fooled into thinking I was madly in love with him and all these other things. Like, no, he knew. He knew exactly what he was getting and how he was getting it. So, needless to say, he didn't want me to grow. He didn't want me to get whole, because that was dangerous towards what he wanted, which was to have control over me. So I spent my 20s fighting myself, trying to find myself, and a lot of times running from myself. And I wish that I had a time machine, because I'd go back and I'd do things differently, because there was a lot of great things that I've learned through this process. I've damaged myself and my daughter and my son more than any of it's worth. So when I look at these women, especially the ones that are younger than me, I see the woman I should have been in my 20s. The women that are my age, I see the woman that I should be right now. And the women who are older than me, I see who I can be later on, and the hope that there is. Because some of them, they didn't start their 20s or 30s or 40s, in the way that I wish I could have. So these women are inspiration to me. I spent the last 2 years, my beginning of my 30s, as a free woman. I released myself from the bondage that I had created by yoking myself with someone I had no business yoking myself with. Realizing that I could at least hold my head high, knowing that I truly did try to do everything that I could to make it work. And while that part feels nice and that part feels good, like I said, it wasn't worth all the pain. It wasn't worth it, and it wasn't worth all the damage. because it makes the healing process even harder. So I spent the past couple years making amends with that, realizing that the damage went deeper than I thought, not just for myself, but for my daughter, and coming to terms with that and learning to forgive myself so I can rise above that, so I can be the woman that God has created me to be, so I can be everything, to my little girl and then some that I'm supposed to be. So these women are amazing. And, throughout this time, I've had many people, men and women, come to me and tell me that I inspire them. And that makes me feel so good and grateful that even in my hot mess brokenness, I've still been able to inspire people. But for those people, I want to say I'm sorry. And I want to ask you for forgiveness. Because even though I've inspired you some, I have not inspired you to the level that I can and I should have. Because I haven't been the best me possible. I've gotten in my own way. I've destroyed myself. So I want to ask you for forgiveness. And I want to let you know from this day on forward, and not just you, my little girl, one day she might watch this, as, later on today, and maybe she'll get it, maybe she won't, and maybe she'll watch this years from now and understand it better. But I want to ask her for forgiveness too, because even though she thinks I am the most amazing mom in the world, I haven't been the most amazing mom in the world. I haven't been the best me possible, so I know that I couldn't have been the best mom possible. So I want to ask you forgiveness for me playing small, for me getting my own way, for me not allowing myself to forgive myself, for me not allowing the amazing person that God's made me to be to shine through all the way. And I promise you from this day on that I will be that person. And for the men and women, because it's not just women that have been having inspired me, there's so many men that have inspired me as well. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for all that you do. I am so grateful that you're in my life, whether you know it or not. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow.